for joining in. I'm just trying to get Roopa in there. So once she gets in, we will start off. So just a second. I mean, this is because for Roopa, it's yeah. I think she just will. Once she joins in, we can start off the. Okay, so just a second. Let me just check with Roopa because she's. It's early morning there, and she's trying to. Yeah, sure. So let me just. She's asking me to call her, so let me just do that before I get her in. So it's really my privilege to actually get her in for this interview. She's currently working with IBM as an associate partner there, and she has greater than 17 years of experience in various IT and IT services kind of company, and also with Cognizant and SBI prior to this. She comes with extensive sort of knowledge in transforming, technology, in the knowledge space and the technology kind of transformations that she's done for large corporates. So while she's settling down with, the Instagram part of it, all of you there, you can actually ask me questions, and I think some of you yesterday, I know some of you had already actually have been seeing my videos. So that's Katniss is there, Sovan is there. Hi, thank you so much for joining in. And so can you just tell me in one word as to what have you been learning out of these videos? Is there any kind of learning that you've had out of these live sessions that I've been doing? But you can just comment, and you're free to ask questions too. This is an interactive kind of a live session. So in case you feel that during this discussion with Roopa, you want to ask any questions, you are welcome to do that. That's sure. That's what I'm trying to communicate. The other thing is, let me quickly give you an objective of why I'm doing this. So I'm a women's independence coach, and my vision is to help 100,000 women become self-reliant. And in this journey of mine, I got this idea one fine morning that why not I interview people from all walks of life, because these are people whom I've interacted with when I was working corporate experience, and they come with extensive exposure, and they can actually help in terms of giving suggestions, ideas and actions of what women can take, or generally entrepreneurs. And I also want to bring the angle of women in terms of challenges that we face, and what are those takeaways that we can use in day-to-day life for us to implement as an entrepreneur. So that was the idea. So hi Sailesh, thank you for joining. And if you have any questions, I know Sovan, you had joined in yesterday too. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and shoot them right away. We am here to answer. Let me also in the meanwhile check if Roopa is getting comfortable with. So Ash is getting in. Yeah. So there she is. Okay. So go live with yes. So as Roopa comes in, I think this is really a actually special moment for me. There.
Hi, Preetha.
Good morning to you. How are you doing, Roopa?
I'm doing good, thanks. Sorry about that. I just tried to use my laptop instead of the iPad. But
no, that is my bad. Yeah, sure. So I think I didn't tell you that. That was my mistake. In fact, it happened with one of the earlier sessions too, where they were trying to log in through the laptop and it didn't work. So fine. So we are on. So great. So there are a lot of people there. Some of them, of course, I've also asked them to ask questions. If they have any during our interaction. So what I'll do is, for the benefit of the viewers, I'll also want to quickly let everyone know as to what my objective is, as to why I'm doing this series of interviews with leaders from various walks of life. And thank you so much, Roopa, for agreeing for this discussion and taking all the trouble. And I know it's early morning there, and you've made it. And thank you so much.
No problem, Preetha. It's no trouble. It's my pleasure to be here with you.
Yeah, so great, Roopa. The objective here, Roopa, is that me being a women's independence coach, and for the benefit of everyone, my vision actually is to help 100,000 women become self-reliant, and this vision is really close to my heart. And one fine morning, in this entire journey of entrepreneurship, I just got this idea as to why not I interview leaders from the industry, who have extensive exposure and who can actually give us suggestions, ideas, and action for entrepreneurs and women entrepreneurs, to take that and act in sort of in day-to-day life. So that was the objective, and I've been able to interview quite a few doctors, business entrepreneurs, and people from various walks of life. And here you are. So let me introduce you to everyone else in terms of your exposure. So everyone there. So Roopa is actually associate partner with IBM, currently working with IBM. She has greater than 17 years of global exposure in IT services and insurance industry, and progressive and result-oriented professional with comprehensive experience in client relationship management, insurance IT solutions, marketing, cognitive process engineering, core insurance operations, and sales. And prior to joining IBM, Roopa was with Cognizant Technology Solutions in their insurance practice for 7 years and has worked in leadership positions in their marketing, account management, and delivery organizations. And before Cognizant, she has worked with SBI Life, the largest private sector company in India, for 9 years, where she played multiple leadership roles across sales, account management, process quality, and operations. And of course, Roopa is now based out of Boston, Massachusetts, where I always struggle pronouncing that, where she resides with her husband and her 9-year-old son. And this actually interview is very special because she's a very good friend of mine too. So I've taken the liberty to interview her, and she's accepted this. So if you're comfortable, Roopa, I'll start off with the first question. Is that okay?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for that introduction, Preetha. When I was living in India, I had the best time with you. We used to go out a lot to movie theaters and restaurants. So I cherish those memories. And I'm very happy to be on this forum. I'm also very happy to see the progress you're making in this business. I just wanted to, inform that right in the beginning of the interview.
Sure, Roopa. Thank you so much. I mean, as supportive as you are, as always. So thanks so much. So let me ask you the first question, and it's I'm very conscious about what we spoke about yesterday in terms of you actually letting me know that, your experiences in the knowledge space and technology industry in terms of digital transformations that you've done for large corporates. So I'll definitely keep that in my mind when I'm asking you the questions, because while the topic is women power and digital entrepreneurship, please go ahead and come up with your own, experiences and in this area. It need not be related to digital entrepreneurship in that sense. And so that was a very valid point you made too. So I had wanted to start off asking you, apart from we knowing each other, why do you think, this whole concept of gender diversity and women power, whether it is in digital entrepreneurship or technology or knowledge space, what are the challenges that you think women face, and why do you think is this topic really important for you? What are your thoughts around that?
So that's, I think 2-3 questions in one, but I'll kind of answer it one after another. So I think the first question as part of what you've asked is, why is it that this particular topic, which is digital entrepreneurship or women in digital entrepreneurship, be it women who are running their businesses in that space, or are using the digital medium itself to promote their brand, their products, and themselves. So why is it really important today? I think what I've noticed as part of my experience working in technology companies and also listening to women in this space, be it entrepreneurs or in the tech industry, is this. And why I feel it's very important and relevant is, today, be it anywhere in the world, I mean, be it in India, be it in the US, women are trying to really carve out a niche for themselves. This has been happening for decades, but I think this is really the time for women to be out there. And they're able to do it in a much more easier way. I mean, the digital platform in itself provides them that opportunity to have a larger reach. Now, let me explain that to you. 20 years ago, if a woman wanted to start a business, or if a woman working for a technology company or any company, any industry wanted to promote herself as a brand, it was very difficult. I mean, you really needed to know the right people, have the right network, and be associated to the right set of friends or alumni to be able to do that. And even if they were successful in doing that, the reach was far less. But today, given we have this amazing digital media platform and the adoption of that, right? I mean, be it the network of people that the women want to connect to, or be it their end customers, it's very easy for them to promote their ideas, products. And
I think there was a loss of electricity. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. Now, coming to the second part of your question, which is what do you think are the challenges that women really face in this medium, right? Now, I think the challenges women face is definitely a little bit more than what men really face. And let me explain that, right? Women have an inherent, and I'm talking about women across societies and cultures. I see that having worked in the US too, where women don't have that I mean, I would say don't have, but I think culturally they have been groomed in such a way that they hesitate to promote themselves, right? They hesitate to put themselves out there. And I think that is the biggest challenge for women. Because they feel that if they put themselves out there, if they promote themselves as a brand using technology platforms, or if they even push some of their products but don't put their face ahead, they're really being completely out there, and that's something that's not acceptable by the society. And this is really not true. The fact really remains that, you know, society in the past 10 years across different cultures have really accepted people promoting themselves. So be it men, women, or even children, young children, you know, who are putting up their videos on YouTube, people are accepting it, and there's really no judgment. So I think the real challenge for women is to break their barriers in their mind and you know, overcome that piece and get ahead of themselves, and really put themselves out there and start promoting themselves. I mean, nobody is going to promote you unless you promote yourself. I mean, that's something that I have learned in my 17, 18 years of experience. I mean, I'll give you an example. I'm just trying to give you my own personal example. When I started off after my master's, I started working with this life insurance company. Being very young, I had a lot of ideas, right? I wanted to change things, change processes, but there was this great hesitation for me to really, you know, come up, because I didn't really know if anybody would value my ideas at all. Thankfully, I think for me, what really happened was I had a mentor, and he's a wonderful mentor who leads the company today in their marketing. He told me that, you know, Roopa, if you want to be heard, if you want your ideas to come to me, you need to speak up. You need to voice, and you need to stand in front of a large crowd and be willing to say that. The worst thing that can happen is that people will dish your ideas, right? They'll say your ideas are not good, but that's the worst thing. But I think or you are judged, right? People may think that, oh, what does she know? Why does she have to have all of these ideas? So people may judge you. So what he told me was, control your fears and put yourself out there, put your ideas out there and promote yourself. Promote yourself shamelessly, because nobody will. And that's the learning that I have taken all through my career. And any point in time when, I have been in meetings or be it in conferences, it's, I've made it a point that I've made my presence felt. And this is not, in a shameful manner promoting yourself without having stuff or ideas. It's really doing that hard work, doing that research before you put your ideas ahead. So really, I think the two challenges that women face and they can overcome is, number one, put yourself, out there, promote yourself. And most importantly, when you promote yourself, do that after doing your homework. Because if you don't do your homework, you're going to be, exposed for it. So that's my response for your second question.
Sure.
Preetha, you...
Sure. So I think so. I mean, so well put. I mean, so what you're trying to say is, of course, the first thing that you said is that we have the e-learning industry there, we have the digital space there, so women can really carve out our own niche and go out there and create our own business, because the reach is really global today. That was the first point that you made. And the second point that you're trying to say is that everything is in our own minds. So we need to change the narrative that is there in our minds and just go out and promote ourselves. And this is so true, Roopa. I totally agree with you. Today, even when I'm doing, like, say, for example, a Facebook ad, or like trying to put up a picture of mine, in various platforms, sometimes I think whether this is the right picture I should put or not, or whether it's a picture which would, it is a very professional picture that's been taken, but there's a lot of thought that goes in just putting that one picture as to how would it be taken, right? So I can so much resonate with you in what you're saying, that we hesitate in sort of promoting ourselves. And I think we just need to get your mentor and what you said, just get out of that and do it. Just go ahead and do it. Change the narrative and do it. And the third point, a very valid point that you're saying, is promotion. After promotion, make valid sort of, do your homework, do your research. So it's not that you just go and promote there and you don't have, content, or you don't have, I'm not getting the word. Basically, do the research. It's very important to do the research, right? So these are very valid points. Now, let me to bring our presence out there, you're saying these are certain points that we need to do. Now, look at the kind of challenges as women entrepreneurs that we face, say, in the digital world, where I don't know whether I should ask you this question, but how else do you foresee sort of women in terms of the e-learning industry in the future? What do you foresee? Like, suppose you want to move out of the space, for example, I mean, just a hypothetical situation, so to say. How do you really foresee yourself growing, or what would be those top two actions, apart from what you said, right? What else do you think a woman should do to, reach out the audience there and get global?
I think, so number one, how can women leverage e-learning platforms, right? Irrespective of what professional fields they are in, or whether they are entrepreneurs. I think any kind of e-learning platform, it's a great medium for women to improve on themselves. It helps them in what we call as continuous learning, right? And I think one of the key aspects for success, be it for women or for men, really is to invest time in continuous learning and keep yourself relevant. Because, there is so much of disruption. When I say disruption in the industry, right, which is essentially driven by new technology, which I feel makes anybody uncomfortable, right? I mean, I'm giving you a very simple example. where if you are actually maybe it's not falling within the space of e-learning, but I'll tie it all back. If supposing you're driving a car which is completely manual, right, and you're very comfortable with it, and I am one of those persons. Like, I like the touch and feel of how to drive a car manually, right, without really the car driving me. But in 10 years' time, that reality is going to change. The car is going to drive us. You're going to have these self-driving cars, and you as a woman or a man really has to accept that. And that means to say that you need to be able to, number one, be comfortable that change will happen. And number two, you need to adapt and, learn the few things that can help you manage that change well. So this is in the space of cars. Now, if you really pivot back, if you take, for example, like a lady, like somebody like me, I am in the technology and the knowledge space. Like working for IBM, I support large clients of ours in their digital transformation. Now, when you talk about digital transformation, about 5 years ago, digital transformation was very simple. It really meant, get all your customer-facing applications to your customers. So, for example, if you are a banker, the banking app should be with the customer, so the customer is able to quickly ask questions. So that was digital change 5 years ago. But 5 years from now, digital change is going to be different. It means, same bank using artificial intelligence to really drive change in customer experience. Now, for me, being a woman in technology, what do I do? If I have to keep myself relevant and help my customers, I need to learn about artificial intelligence, right? I need to learn about new technology. And the only way I can do that is through e-learning. It can be through e-learning platforms within the organization, or there is plenty of e-learning platforms that's outside. So for me, I think it's a great time for me to really get a lot of knowledge that I need to progress for myself. The same advice I will give for all women in any field. Keep yourself relevant. Make sure that you move, or you're at least a few steps ahead of change, so that when that change happens, you're at the top of your game, and leverage e-learning to do that. Sure. Question, Preetha.
Yeah, Roopa. So you're basically saying, we need to keep ourselves updated continuously. That's the gist of it, right? Given the kind of technology changes that is happening almost on a minute-to-minute basis, versions change, and now, of course, it's the artificial intelligence age. Now, I want to slightly change the angle of, a boy child versus a girl child here, and the comfort of technology, as naturally somehow, when you see a boy child playing toys, and I used to not really feel that this is true, because I would feel that both of them are equal. But then when you actually watch a girl child playing as opposed to a boy child playing with the toys that are given there, naturally a boy goes and chooses, say a car or a machine, as opposed to a girl probably who would want to play with Barbie dolls, right? So given this maybe it's nature, like men are from Mars and women are from Venus, kind of a thing, right? So if that is natural for a woman to be better in relationships as opposed to a man handling machines better, then there is a larger challenge that we have, as women. Is it? Do you think that is true, or what are your thoughts around that? As to, is there sort of technology resistance that we have inherently, in our wiring that we need to change? While you anyway said that we need to sort of change our narrative, but this is something that is natural. So is it true, and what are your thoughts to it, and what have you really done in your life to sort of change that, right? If that was right, or if that existed in you, right?
So that's a very interesting question, Preetha. So let me try and answer that. I think the fact remains that men and women are different, and that's how nature has always wanted it to be, right? That happens across all kinds of living species. Now, when it comes
Roopa, I'm not able to hear you clearly, so I think I'll just put in the earphone, because looks like.
Go ahead, Roopa.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yes,
All
yes,
right.
yes.
No, I was just saying that men and women, they are wired differently, and that's human nature.
Yes, yes.
The fact, as you said, right from the time at a young age, girls gravitate towards dolls and boys gravitate towards cars and all of those gizmos. But having said that, while it is traditionally thought that men gravitate towards technology or maybe to like mechanical stuff, when it really comes to the field of technology or the field of even women leveraging technology to promote themselves in whatever field they are, I really don't think there is much of a difference between men and women. Really. Because what really it is in terms of aptitude, I don't really see that. The difference really is that the women who maybe pursue a course, say in computer science, or could be any course related to technology, they, as they move forward in their life, maybe they get married, they have children, many of them really drop out. And that is the reason why you see that women are far underrepresented in the workforce, be it in the technology field or any other industry.
Yes.
So
yes,
I think the answer to your question really is that there is really no difference in terms of aptitude to learn and aptitude to be in the field. The difference really remains that sometimes women, when they have to decide on their priorities, they may decide to, let go of a portion of their professional life and focus on their families, which need not be the case. What women need to do, and I think this is a great golden era, I would call it, is that really use digital platforms, because they can sit in their house and while they're managing their family, they can still push their products, their ideas, and be at the top of their game. So there is great opportunity and get, there's great opportunity to leverage the platform, and there is absolutely no difference between a boy and girl in terms of how they leverage the platform. But
especially the technology side of it.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure.
But having said that, Preetha, I think what's very important is that, women should keep their curiosity intact, right? And I think that's something I learned personally, because you get so busy with your personal life, your professional life, especially in your 20s, in your till your early 30s, because you're raising a family, your child is really young, and you are, in terms of your career or in your business, you're trying new things. And what really happens is you're just trying to stay afloat, you're like just trying to manage.
Yes.
You forget your you try to put aside your curiosity to learn new things. And I think that is where maybe the men are better.
Yeah.
Men, they are able to keep their curiosity intact, and to some extent put in that time to learn based on their curiosity during their 20s and their early 30s. That maybe I think gives them an edge. But really, women keep their curiosity, keep their hard work and their determination to break that barrier. There is no difference between a man and a woman.
Totally agree. So it's like, I think, given the situation that a woman goes through, whatever, having a baby, or the physical, the mental changes, probably, the priority shift. And all those women who are really conscious, or they really want to get back to, their career, for them, what you're saying, right? I think, and even so, and exactly what the data also says, right? The data actually says that there are only 0.2% of women at the leadership level. I mean, globally, this is a McKinsey report that is actually telling us this, that there's a lot of, in the C-suite jobs, there's a lot of effort done by the leadership to promote women so that there are equal number of men and women at the leadership level. It's actually increased from 29% to 44%, but still there is a lot of gap and there's a lot of effort, and people are more conscious, as you're very rightly saying, it's a golden era for us. People are more conscious that women should be out there, but there is a lot of gap, and I wanted to share this data with you on the women entrepreneurship journey, and there India especially, we are abysmally low. We are third from the bottom after Pakistan and Bangladesh. For some reason, we women don't take that step, whether it is a risk, step that needs to be taken, because entrepreneurship is, of course, a different journey altogether. So, and even if they take the step, and India, what the data point says is that they are all self-financed, so they don't get the financial support, and mostly people are from disadvantaged communities, even if the women have taken up the entrepreneurship journey. And so given all of these data points, probably that's one of the reasons why, you're talking about they vanishing, right? We're talking about after managerial kind of a level, you see that women do not exist. They vanish. I mean, especially senior management and women entrepreneurship, they don't exist. So while you already have mentioned a little bit of it, I wanted you to sort of elaborate more on that as to where do you think is really the problem? One is, of course, we keeping ourselves relevant, which we need to get more and more cautious about. What else do you think is the problem that probably women, of course, the digital space is bringing a different angle to the whole thing. What else do you think is a real problem that a woman doesn't take that step to get into the professional side after whatever changes that she's gone through in her life at the domestic level?
So I think the most important aspect is that there is a lot of expectation from the society that women, and I can say that in the Indian context. I mean, before I moved to the US 5 years ago, I was living in India and working over there, managing our young son along with my husband. So I think I'll talk very specifically to the Indian context here. I feel that there is, and I think we being Indians, the fact is that there is a lot of expectation from the society that the women should do it all. That is, if she is a working woman, she still has to manage her household, her children, her husband, and manage her appearances, manage to go to social events, do all of that, and then also manage your career or your business. So that societal expectation is there, and women always have that feeling. So when it comes to a decision of quitting the job or a business, they choose that because the rest of it cannot be compromised. Most women don't want their families to get impacted, and they yield into the society's pressure and they leave. The same thing applies when it comes to them coming back into the rejoining the workforce or starting a business. The same expectation comes back to them. Maybe the children are a little older, but still that expectation is there, and there is a lot of fear because of that they don't come back to the workforce or they don't start a business. So to really address that, I don't want to talk that the society has to change because that's going to take time.
Yes.
And society, you can't say that Indian society is a one size fits all. It's different across different states, different across different regions, and the expectations on women is very different, and even the family structures are different. Some are single nuclear families. So it's very different. So while the society and the expectations may take time to change, I think the best, I would say, recommendation, maybe not an advice, the recommendation based on my personal experience, I would say is, number one, try to bring that awareness within your own family. First, get that in your, and that really starts with you. So get it into your head. Number one, that you are somebody who cannot do everything that the society is expecting out of you. You can't be that perfect, wife and mother and perfect professional. You can't. There is no perfection. What you can do is try to be the best in your own abilities to do all of these roles, right? So when you start doing that in your own head, that yes, I am doing everything that I can. Maybe I may not be the perfect mother. Like I may not be baking cookies and making cakes, or I may not be cooking lunch and dinner every day, but I'll do it sometimes. And some of the work I can outsource if I can, and some of it I have to. Maybe if my husband is not helping in certain things, I have to tell him to do it. And the fact is, men really want to help their wives. There are a lot of men who want their wives to be successful, right? So you need to, if you need help, you need to explain that even to your spouse and get that help. Because just like it takes a village to raise a child, it also takes the support of everybody around you to give you that help. And also help from your friends. But most importantly, you should be willing to ask for help. You should be willing to accept that you cannot be that perfect lady. At the same time, I need help. And while I do all of this, the fact is, you will then be able to get back into a workforce. You can then be able to start your own business, or maybe you can continue your work without taking a break. So all of this is really, it plays in together. So start from your family. Don't think about the society and all of that. I mean, changing. That will take time.
Yeah, I think this is, a different point that you brought up, Roopa, from all the discussions that I've done with various people in terms of the societal expectations and the nuclear family part of it that you brought up. And I think it's a very, very relevant point in terms of expectations and not really sort of trying to do everything in 100% perfect kind of a. That is the message that you're trying to say. And as a women's independence coach, Roopa, there's actually a mid-sized software company that signed up with me to coach 180 of their women employees. And, when I started off the process and various coaching engagements that I do with women, one of the things that comes in as a narrative, like, getting back to work syndrome, so to say, where people have these questions in their mind. Number one, I'm going to be competing with youngsters, okay? And number two is, will I be able to match the technology changes that has happened? And of course, three is the pay gap that may exist because of the, break that the woman has taken. So with all these sort of, chatter in their mind, they try to join the workforce. And that's when today corporates are trying to see that we need to have coaches to sort of coach, women so that they are back and they get their potential out of them, right? And somewhere I've been playing a role in there and sort of coaching them. So you have, in fact, said a lot of points, especially on the changing of the narratives. But, this whole thing of the first point that I was trying to make of they feeling that, I have to compete with youngsters. And it actually happened with me. I was working with Deloitte in 2018 as a contractor. In fact, in the learning and development team, they were all youngsters around me. And, there is this feeling that you have to, because they're all been in the organization for like 10 years and they're waiting for their, promotion to happen. And here I am, joined new to the team and all competing with sort of youngsters. So, how do you deal with this? Like, suppose you get back to the corporate world, the specific thing of competing with the youngsters, and probably even as a woman entrepreneur, probably you don't face that much of it. Unless you go to these forums and see people around you and you still are able to manage it better. But in a corporate world, how do you, really manage this aspect of it? Hey, and thanks, Hirawat, Preetha, the people who are watching. I hope this discussion is interesting, and please feel to ask, questions if you have. You can type it in the comment box. Yeah, Roopa.
Yeah, I think it is a real problem. I mean, the chatter in your mind, the self-critical voices that are in the head of, I don't know about men, but I think I can just talk for women. Women are typically very self-critical, irrespective of how much they might have achieved, be it in their professional lives or in their personal lives, right? I mean, raising a family is a very big achievement. Even if a person has not worked but is raising a family, that's an achievement. And if you're working professional, that's an achievement, managing your family, managing your work, right? But despite doing all of it, women tend to be very self-critical, and that really gets magnified when you are also worried about youngsters, with a lot of ideas and are also technologically very savvy, and whether you can compete with them or not. I think my response to that is this, right? You're always going to have competition, be it from youngsters 10-15 years younger than you, if you are in middle age, or it could be with your own peers who have probably invested time and energy to learn new things and they are slightly ahead. So there's always going to be competition. But your objective should, I think, not be to really beat the competition, because when you try and do that, it's a very, I would call it as very discouraging thing really for you personally to do it, to try to beat competition, right? I think what's very important is to really beat or be better than yourself. So supposing you're lacking in something, supposing, I'm just giving a very simple example. If you feel a youngster knows to do Excel macros very well and you feel you can't do it, then learn it, right? Work on yourself. You can't be sitting and worrying about that young person who knows it. If your peer knows, like in my field, where I'm in the field of artificial intelligence, I talk to the clients. I see sometimes maybe a peer of mine knows better than me, can talk to a client better than me. Then my job is not to better that colleague, but to better myself. So I will go and learn up and read up more about it. So when you do that, it's like a muscle. You keep exercising your muscle. If you are at point A, you will become better. After 6 months, you will move to point B. And when you move from point A to point B, bettering yourself, you get that really cocky sense of confidence that, hey man, like, I'm pretty good, right? I mean, what about these youngsters? I can beat these youngsters. He knows macros. I know much more than that, right? So it is to get that kick in your head where you become better than yourself. And when you keep exercising your muscle, you're not going to be worried about competition and that self-critical barrier, which is always going to be there. Like even if you become better, you're always going to be more critical. It just comes down a few notches.
Yeah, and I guess you also sort of increase your confidence levels and just keep doing it. Go on from one level to the other. And this is something that I can share with you, Roopa. In the last 5 to 6 months, I keep doubting myself as to whether I'm actually coaching or setting up systems, in the sense that it's been such a journey of being out of my comfort zone almost on a day-to-day basis. Like even the simple thing of doing an Insta Live is not actually, it's not something that comes naturally, but, trying, so I'm like not really trying to boast, but then what I'm saying is this is something that we need to be very conscious. Is that right? Is that what you're also trying to convey, that
yes,
we need to...
I mean, you're going to fail at times. Many times you will fail. Many times you will be down on the downs. You will question yourself whether you're doing the right thing. You will compare yourself with others who may know better than you at that point. The point really, it comes down to this. You work on yourself. Become better every single day. You're going to beat all of those self-critical thoughts at some point in time. But then, like I said, you will never be free of being self-critical, That is never going to happen, because that is, and in a way it is good, because when you are slightly self-critical, that pushes you to be out of your comfort zone, to learn something new. If you think you're the best, if you think you know everything, you're never going to grow and learn. So I think it's good to have that self-critical thoughts, but you have to keep moving the needle when it comes to self-critical thoughts, so to speak.
Yes. So great, Roopa. So I think that's quite a message, that's like a sort of, a concluding message to all the women influencers there, that there will be talk, there will be chatter, but we need to just deal with that, take it step by step, keep ourselves updated, and get ourselves out of our own comfort zone. It's only then that, because competition exists, and if we are in that world of competition, we need to go face it, right? And deal with our chatter in some sense. Is that
Exactly.
a message that? Yes, Roopa.
And
So great. So
and be willing to accept that the chatter is going to be there.
Is going to be that's a very valid point. And the other thing that you also mentioned about is the family expectations, and to tell yourself that you cannot, basically make everyone happy, and you cannot be perfect. I mean, so set your expectations right, be it whether it is with your spouse or with your in-laws or whatever it is. You need to communicate and say that thing as to what do you want, what you can do, what you cannot do, and so that the journey is if not easy, at least a little better for you, right? Sure. So great, Roopa. So I'll just ask you two more questions, and one is it's time for you to ask me a question, whatever that you want, related to my business, and then we'll end with a lighter note. Is that okay?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Sure. So go ahead, shoot.
Yeah. So Preetha, I've been following you since you started your business, and I really commend the way that you started the business, right? I mean, it takes a lot of courage to start something new, start a business, really, so to speak. So that's something I wanted to let you know. And the question I have is, when you started your business, what are the challenges that you faced at the early stage of your business, which you can talk about, that I think can also help some of the women, either on this forum or women in general? The early stage, what were the challenges that you faced when you started your business?
Yeah, sure, Roopa. So thanks so much for going on telling me that you're doing a great job. It helps because that gets wired. So thanks again. But yeah, so let me quickly probably tell you one or two, of the top challenges that I face. See, first of all, for me to take the decision itself of going ahead was, again, sort of dealing with the chatter in my mind, right? So I had to take actions. So see, many times you have ideas, you have things that you want to do, but idea doesn't have any space if you don't take actions. So I think I went ahead and took actions, whether it was at the cost of probably, having those tough conversations at home or whatever, but I went ahead and did that because I really felt that if I want to make a difference, because I somehow was not very comfortable getting back to the corporate world after the experiences that I had, and after having tasted a little bit of freelancing and entrepreneurial journey, I think I liked that freedom. So of opening, the door for my daughter when she got back from school, and doing my work when I wanted to. So actions was one that I took. Two is I realized quickly, through certain networks, forums that I joined, because I had to build. Once I got back to Hyderabad, which is where I'm working from today, I realized that a lot of my colleagues either had gone up the ladder or were not around, and I really didn't know where they were. So it was for me to restart my networking journey in some sense. So I had to join a networking organization. So I decided to join Business Network International. I did not know anything of it. I didn't know what to expect of it. Again, it was an action that I took. So actually I had positioned myself as a trainer there. And then what was close to my heart is coaching. But people told me that, no, you go ahead and do training, and you probably can run that parallelly as a business. So I was there, and it's through Business Network International that I got in touch with my digital mentor, Siddharth Rajshekar, and it's through him that I've actually learned how to set up systems. So this is another action that I took. Of course, there was money spent. There are discussions around that happens, in the household. But I feel because of those actions that I took in terms of setting up digital systems, and today, who knew that we would be in a COVID situation, trying to do webinars from home. It's because of that I'm able to do these webinars. If I hadn't set up those systems, I wouldn't have been able to do it. And of course, it's a journey. And I wouldn't say, because I'm a little resistance. I have resistance towards technology, so it's been a slow journey for me. But I've been able to do it all by myself, the setting up of the system, slowly and steadily. So I think it's actions, joining a networking organization, along with setting up systems digitally. And otherwise, the other challenges are pretty similar, whether in a digital space, trying to deal with men there in terms of, the kind of viewing, the kind of men-dominated world that is there in the digital spaces also exists. So how you make your presence, how you go ahead and, again deal with your chatter and say, it's okay, just put this picture out there and let it go, for a Facebook ad or whatever. So I think it's a consistent kind of thing on a day-to-day basis that I say that just do it, be there, and I need to be consistent. I cannot be like one day sort of put up an article there and then not do it for 10 days or not do it because it's all I have to, deal with that,
Exactly.
So I have a calendar that, Monday to Sunday, what are the things that I need to sort of put up out there in the digital space, so those are the kind of things that I'm not such an organized person, but when you manage a business, you probably tend to become more that. So I think that's too long an answer for a,
No, that's
sure.
fantastic.
So sure, Roopa. So great talking to you. And let me just end with a lighter note. So what is it that you'll do? We've been talking a lot about women power and things like that. One thing, let me clearly tell you, and you know me, that I'm not a feminist to say that women are better than men or whatever. But when you get back, to your personal life, what is that one thing that you want to do for your spouse or the man in your life after this interview?
You don't want me to tell what I want to do, right?
No, that's okay. I mean, you can share something that you want to do that people are viewing that can hear. It's up to you.
I think, maybe what I want to do is, with my husband, given the COVID situation, we can't go to restaurants or any of those places. But I think what I really want to do is, take a few hours, go for a nice long hike in a nearby state park. So that's something that I want to do with my husband. And I think while we do that quite often, this time I want to be able to, maybe because it is springtime here, I want to collect lots of flowers along the way in the hike
and hand it over to him.
Okay, I'll do something like that.
Okay, so great. So do convey my regards to your husband Navin, and so great. So thanks so much, Roopa, for joining in, and excellent points. And this will be there in my YouTube channel. And for all those people who are watching, if you have any questions, you can ask any of those questions or put it in the comments box, or you can always view this video, either in IGTV or YouTube. And please attend my Tuesday webinars. I'll be talking more about brain principles so that you can actually get in touch with me and get coached with me. So thanks, Roopa. Thanks again for taking all the trouble and being here for this discussion.
Absolutely.
Okay, so catch up later.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Yeah.
Hi there, all of you. So let me just add